Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. We're going to start in a book entitled Ethiopia and the Missing Link in African History, page 68. The Jews were the first nation to branch off from the black, and the most striking proofs of this fact is that there are black Jews still found in Africa and India. They have their Asiatic features and speak the Hebrew language, and I have often heard they were more accurate in their tradition than many Jews elsewhere. The African and Indian Jews belong to a branch that left the Ur of the Chaldees with Abraham. I had an occasion to meet a black rabbi from Ethiopia and talked with him at length, and he told me that the Jews and the African people are but one race, and the Jews were originally black but grew lighter, living in Gentile countries where the climate was much colder than in Africa. That's from Ethiopia and a Missing Link in African History. Next reference. I have a book entitled From Babylon to Timbuktu by Root of Windsor, page 84. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During this period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. Another part of the same book. The Jewish philosopher Philo, about 40 BC to 40 AD, who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, said that 1 million Jews resided in Libya and Egypt, from the Catabasmos to the border of Ethiopia. Next reference. A book entitled The Hebrew Heritage of Black Africa by Stephen Jacobs. Page 57. Edward Morel, in his Affairs of West Africa, informs us that the Fulani and related West Africans are lineal descendants of the Hyksos and other Hebrew migrants. A picture of a Fulani person. This young woman is a member of the Fulani people. Next reference. A book entitled African Kingdoms from Time Life Books. Part of the pictures that we see. Page 139 reads as follows. The walls of the churches of St. Mary and St. Mercurius at Lalibela are resplendent with murals depicting biblical episodes. Many of the scenes are from the Old Testament. Ethiopian history and folklore are intimately linked with Judaism, and the Ethiopians are themselves a mixture of Semitic, West Asian, and Negroid strains. Ethiopia's earliest Christian rulers, the kings of the Solomonid dynasty, claimed to be descended from King Menelik I, the firstborn son of King Solomon and Sheba, queen of the ancient Ethiopians. Rulers of the Zagwe dynasty, Zagwe, Z-A-G-W-E, rulers of the Zagwe dynasty, including King Lalibela, went a step further. They traced their ancestry all the way back to Moses. But the Zagwe dynasty was overthrown by the Solomonids in 1270 AD, and ever since then, Ethiopia has been ruled by the descendants of Solomon, one of the longest uninterrupted lines of royal succession in history. From a book entitled African Kingdoms by Time Life Books. Next reference. I have a book here from the Negro College Library on page 166 of this very same book. We're going to go into a subject matter and then read on from this point. It says, ethnic groups of the Ethiopians. Semitic and Hamitic races dominate Ethiopia's mixed population. Of more than 40 tribes represented, the most important groupings are the Amharas, the Galas, and the Tigrians. Descendants of the Bija people are located in the country's northwestern region, while the Donkelis, Galas, and Somalis can be found on the plains. The Amharas, a people of mixed Shemitic/Hamitic origin, are in the highlands and constitute the nation's ruling class. Along the Tigrians, a Semitic stock, they comprise an estimated 1/3 of Ethiopia's population. In the plateau, one encounters the Hamitic Galas, who constitute approximately 40% of the population. The Negroid Sankelis, along the western frontier, total 6%. The Somalis of the east and southeast make up another estimated 6% of the population figure. Another ethnic grouping in the Ethiopian racial mixture is the Falasha, or quote-unquote black Jew, who lives in the mountains of Simin. There are also Nilotic tribes along the Sudan frontier in the west. That is from a book entitled Negro College Library. Next reference. A book entitled A History of West Africa. Page 12. And we read, many West African peoples have legends and traditions which say that their ancestors came from another homeland in the distant east or north, or from some part of West Africa other than where they live today. In Central Guinea, for example, the Akan and the Nzima say that their ancestors came from far in the north. The Ga and Ewe hold that theirs came from the east. The Yoruba likewise have a tradition which explains that their ancestors originated far in the east. That is from a book entitled A History of West Africa by Basil Davidson. Next reference. I have a book here entitled Stand the Storm. This is concerning part of the slave trade. On page 29, we read the following. African societies rarely sold their own people or those who were culturally close to them. Rather, they sold foreigners, obtained from distant areas through trading networks and markets. Another reference. 100 Amazing Facts with Complete Proof by J.A. Rogers, page 33, under 31. Feisberg says of the Falasha Jews, they are of the Negroid type. The large lips, the prognathism, and frizzy hair all point to the Negro origin. I have seen the Falashas in Abyssinia, and the Negro Jews in Egypt and the Sudan. West Africa has black Jews also. Another quote. Babylon and Timbuktu, page 90. And we read, the black Jews had an advantage over the African tribes. They carried their culture, history, laws, and written records with them. This assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization. Because of the stability of the black Jewish culture, the Jews were never absorbed into the main population. In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes. The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were an industrious and skillful people. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes, governors, generals, secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturalists, etc. Another reference, Stand the Storm, page 29. African societies rarely sold their own people or those who were culturally close to them. Rather, they sold foreigners obtained from distant areas through trading networks and markets. Another reference, J.A. Rogers, 100 Amazing Facts, page 31. Feisberg says, quote unquote, West Africa has black Jews also. Another quote, Babylon and Timbuktu, page 84. And we read, the Jewish philosopher Philo, about 40 BC to 40 AD, who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, said that 1 million Jews resided in Libya and Egypt from the Catabasmos to the border of Ethiopia. Another reference, if we will. This here is a person from Ethiopia, located in the same book I have here from a college, the Negro College Library. So, one of the things to sit there and let it be known, brothers and sisters, and point it out, is that the children of Israel, in many accounts, scattered into what we call the land of West Africa. The point in this presentation for the 14 minutes was to show references that did not include the Bible. Not that I don't believe in the scriptures. Not that I'm hesitant to quote the scriptures. But there are some who sit there in states and ask Israelites, can you validate your point without ever using the Bible? Well, I quoted several references, and some of the references I read repetitively and gave the authors of it, the pages of the books, and so forth and so on. So at that point, it's up to you to take it from there to where you intend to go with it. Let it be noted that the brothers and sisters who go into that quote-unquote comedic science thing, they go into that after knowing themselves as being Hebrews, unfortunately, because they put their trust in man, and man let them down. So now they upset with Israelites as a whole. The scriptures teaches you that if you are wise for yourself. And as we all know in Psalms 49, brothers and sisters, nobody is able to redeem his brother or his sister. Sometimes you just got to put the wind behind your back and be an individual, and at the same token still have love for your brothers and your sisters. Shalom.